Great day, everybody. Great day. How wonderful it is to see so many beautiful faces. Hey, thank you for coming on. We're going to start in about 1 more minute. But as you're coming in, hey, please do me a favor. Put your cameras on. And why don't you put in your chat where you're dialing in from? What state are you in? Let's know where you let's find out a little bit where you're from. Let's put it in there where you're coming in from, what state, the city, state and city. Put it in the chat. All right, we got some California, Texas. All right, North Carolina, Chicago, New Jersey, Boca. All right, there we go. We got people from all over. This is exciting. I'm excited for you all. Obviously, you could be anywhere in the country, but you're here right now. And there's this favorite word, nowhere and now here is the same word. In other words, you can be here, but mentally somewhere else. So I want to make sure that that's not you. So let's make sure that you are here. Okay, we got California, DC, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Georgia. Man, this is exciting. New York City. That's my home stomping ground. 40 years, I did my time. Texas, all right. Florida, Boca Raton. Tennessee, Arizona. All right. I hope you're fired up. We're going to get started in 1 more minute. And keep on putting, okay, New Jersey, Lake, California. All right. Hey, let me ask you, if possible, this is the perfect time to go get a notepad and a pen. This is not where you come in and just show up and just watch a movie. No spectators allowed. We're students. Today we're full-time students and part-time teachers. All right. We got over 160 people dialing in. And we're about to kick off. All right, a little housekeeping. I always like to start a little housekeeping. So as we coming in, this is the perfect time to take a pee break. You don't want to take no breaks. We're gonna go 2 hours. We're gonna go right in, and we're gonna give you one thing for sure: all meat, no bones. We're gonna give you the best information that you can possibly have to make sure you have an impact in your life. Now, we definitely want to be able to ask you one specific question. How important is it for you to make a change in your life? How important is it for you? Gloria, how important is it for you? Doug, how important is it for you? Joanne, okay, we got very important. Okay, excellent. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, put in the chat, how important is it for you to have a change in your life? 10, 10, 10. Here's the hack. If nothing changes in your life, nothing changes in your life. So today, welcome to Living Life on Purpose. And you can live a whole lifetime and never know why the Creator created you. So I was a little skeptical when I found out that this was going to be a free event. And the reason why is because when people pay, they pay attention. Well, we discovered that the price of you not paying attention is too greater, so we just had to make it for free, right? So what is your dream? So a dream, if you're not aware, a dream is an inspiring picture that motivates you, gets you fired up. And I'm hoping today that dream can be ignited. So airplane mode, this is where you take your phone and you put it on airplane mode for the next 2 hours. And I'm asking you might be asking a question, why should you be putting your phone on airplane mode for 2 hours? Well, here's a story I would love to share with you. And it's about a young boy who grew up on the south side of Chicago. Any south side of anywhere in the country is not a good side, right? So anywhere in the country on the south side, but this young man was born in the south side of Chicago. And in his 20s, he was like most people in their 20s, broke. Right? Who had a desire to do something bigger and better. And once you have a desire of doing bigger and better, you start asking yourself some questions. So he started asking himself some questions. These are two questions that he kept on asking himself. Who am I hanging out with? And are they where I want to be in my life? Then he realized that he had to make some changes in his life, and he made and started implementing two concepts. One, self-improvement. Second, self-development. He knew that if he was going to make some changes, changes had to start with him. He also realized that you can borrow people's wisdom for a shortcut to achieving your dreams. So from his 20s to his 30s, this young man became a multi-millionaire. We're not talking about he crossed over $1 million. We're talking about he generated millions of dollars to a point where he retired and moved to Miami and lived the party life. I don't know about you, but I think I would do the same if I was 30 and had a lot of money. But he grew out of that super fast, and he realized, you know what? His life was not just to become a millionaire. He had a bigger desire. He knew that he had to come back into the real world and make an impact. And what he did, he started a nonprofit organization, and since 2002 has helped more than 25,000 children, women, family, kids in more than 19 countries. He's made an impact by building a powerful financial service firm. And what he realized is that the power was not becoming a millionaire. The power was helping other people become millionaires. Jeff is now a multi-million-dollar earner who, I would say over 9 figures, and has dozens of companies. He's an author, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a coach, he's a leader of leaders. And one thing, and how he did it, was doing one thing and one thing alone. And is exactly what he's going to be teaching you today. He did it by planning. He did it by planning. Most people will say it was an accident. He did it by planning. So please, if you can, wave your hands just like this, wave your hands for Mr. Jeff Levitan.
All right. Hey, Juan, thank you so much for that great introduction and that beautiful jacket you have on. I need to get me one of these. 44 regular is my size if you want to ship one out to me. No, I know you have all your stuff custom made. So, hey, welcome everybody to this call today. I know you're probably in holiday mode a little bit. Many of you are probably at home enjoying your family, your kids. If you've got kids, or grandkids, they're off of school this week, and you're kind of weighing out whether you lay on the couch a little bit more this week or you start getting after next week and getting into 2024. I know I've struggled with that for many, many years, right about this time. And I've used this time for the better part of 30 years to goal set and plan my life. It's a great reflection time. It's a great time where you can probably grab a little bit of peace and quiet, get away and take a look at your life and assess and just figure out where you are. What are you doing? Is it going the way you thought it would go? You got to ask yourself the hard questions because other people might not ask you. Are you where you thought you'd be at this point in life? Is your life going the way you thought it would be? Are your relationships the way you thought they would be? Are you physically in the shape you thought you would be at this moment in time? Are you waiting for a new restart? Are you waiting for the first to come around so you can hit the reset button one more time and maybe get back after it? And I think I lived a very, very, very typical life all the way up to my early 20s when I ran into the concept of having mentors and having them guide me and direct me towards personal development and working on myself. And I was a willing candidate. I was young enough to be very pliable, and I wanted change in my life. And I realized if anything, as Juan said earlier, if anything's going to change, it's got to start with me. And so I started reading these books and absorbing at a very rapid rate all these things I had never heard before, and I was not skeptical. I didn't have barriers up because I wanted to grow. If you want change in your life, you've got to be open. And so I was very open, and I was taking in books after books after book. After every single week, I was driving from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, back down to my hometown of Chicago to run appointments in the company I was with. And it took a couple hours each way. And I listened to books on cassette tapes back then. Today you got Audible and things like that. But back then they did have cassette tapes. I'm a slow reader, but I'm a great listener. So I put in these tapes and I probably took in several books a week. And it was a great change for my life at that time. And not only was I taking in books, I was going to seminars. One of the early books I read talked about investing in yourself. They said the best, and I was in the investment business. So I was looking at stocks and bonds and mutual funds and insurance policies and real estate and all those types of things. So I thought, well, what's the best investment? I got to read books on getting wealthy if I want to be wealthy, and books on investing if I want to be a good investor. So I started reading these books, and every one of them referenced investing in yourself. They always said the best investment you could ever make is in yourself. It's in your wisdom. It's in your knowledge. Someone could take away all your property, but if you have your mindset and if you have your wisdom and if you have your experience and you are competent, then you could turn that around and get it all back again. And so I took that very seriously. And I went to a lot of seminars. A lot of them were on goal setting and planning your life. And all of them had one or two things that I thought were unique and special. And I grabbed them and I applied them to my life. And so what you're going to see today is my process that I used to go from being dead broke at age 24, maybe having a negative net worth. I think if you added up all my assets and subtracted out all my debts and liabilities, my net worth was probably minus 40 grand at that time. Unfortunately, some of you might be able to relate to that version of me right now more than the current version, but that's fine. Nothing's less important than your past. All that matters is what you do next. So I believe that when I ran into goal setting and started planning, within 5 years, I became a 7-figure earner. And I had other goals too. It wasn't just income. It wasn't just business. I had a vision and a dream for a big, happy, successful family. And I wanted to be physically healthy along the way. And I wanted to have great relationships. And I wanted my faith in order. And I wanted to be a giver and contribute back. And so all of these areas of my life I had to work on constantly. And it's nothing more than a process. And I'm going to share the process with you today. And it's my process that I use for myself. And I want to let you all know that this class is guaranteed to bring you success, or you get a full money back refund. And I'm joking because you didn't pay for this class. So the money you would get back, it'd be what you pay for it. But I do want to let you know that one thing I've discovered is that your time is worth way more than money. You can't get any more of that. You can get more money. You can get another car. You can get a bigger house. You cannot get more time. So I take your time under great consideration with a lot of respect. This course used to be an 8-hour workshop. We used to sit down and plan out our lives together for 8 straight hours of writing. And that was just the beginning, by the way. It was the tip of the iceberg. It kind of broke somebody into an idea of planning out their life. And it was never finished at 8 hours. It was begun after 8 hours. Today we got 2. We got 2 hours. I'm going to go through it at a very high level. I want to let you know this at the beginning, that the forms that I use to write my goals down and track myself, they'll all be made available to you by an email after this course is done. I know you might want them now and you'd be printing them off and trying to replace the ink in your printer and finding more paper and trying to get ready. I don't want you to do that. I want you to stay focused as much as you can with me here today. Write down on whatever scrap paper you have ideas that come to mind, and then do the work later. Do the work on your own, because if you're not willing to do the work when nobody's watching, you aren't going to be really doing the work that's necessary to make you have the life that you want to. It's got to be on your own. We could get excited together, but it's what you do when nobody's watching that can make or break your life. So I'm going to jump on in. I've got a PowerPoint I'm going to share with you today, and we're going to take you through my whole process. And I hope you get a lot out of it, everybody. I hope it improves your life. I hope that you get a couple aha moments. Some of you, if you're on this, we're up to about 350 people here on the call. Some of you have taken it before. If you have, put it in the chat. Let everyone know, hey, this is my second time. This is my 5th time. This is my 10th time. You'll see the process has not changed. But our lives hopefully have. If you are true to yourself and you're true to what you write down and what you follow, and I'm going to share with you some personal stuff on my goals, but they're mine. I want to let you know that my goals are mine and yours need to be yours. You could get inspiration for seeing what somebody else does or what somebody else has or what somebody else wants. But rest assured, you're going to seek fulfillment more than accomplishment. And your fulfillment is a very personal thing. It's going to come from what you want and what you need in your life. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Give me just a moment. Yep, I'm going to have to, there we go. Give me 1 second. And let me know if you can with a thumbs up, if you can see my screen. Can I get a thumbs up, everybody, if you got full screen here? All right. Living your life on purpose. Everybody roll up your sleeves, grab your piece of paper. Let's get ready to rock and roll. We're going to jump right into this thing. And we're going to start with one of my favorite quotes of all time. And it's from the great Albert Einstein, everybody. Arguably one of the wisest and smartest people to walk the face of the earth. And he said the most significant challenges that we face cannot be solved at the level of thinking that we were at when we created them. So raise your hand if you have challenges in your life. Raise both hands if you're struggling with a lot of challenges in your life. Maybe you've got a ton of things going on in your life that are challenges. I didn't say this. Albert Einstein said it. I'm just quoting him. But he said that you had a part in creating some of those challenges, that you had a hand in it. One way or the other, you got to take some responsibility for the challenges that you're facing. And so the change and the growth and the solution begins. It begins at acknowledging that you might have had a hand in your current situation. And then secondly, understanding that the greatest way to change it is to change the way you think and your perspective about it. It's way deeper than a quick little statement, but you got to take a look at all the problems in your life, and instead of blame, a lot of people, what do? They spend a lot of their life blaming other people. They complain, they blame, they criticize. It's everyone else's fault. But when you point a finger at anything, right? 3 of them are pointing back right at you. You do understand. So 3 times the blame probably comes back to the person doing the blaming. Now, look, maybe it's totally not your fault. Maybe a tornado wiped out your house. Boy, that's not your fault. Maybe you shouldn't have built in a tornado area, but I would tell you that some things might happen to you. And I would tell you this, that even if you didn't have all the responsibility for the challenges that you're facing, the growth opportunity comes in taking ownership instead of laying blame. Rarely in life will you see a victim mentality become successful. A person with a victim mentality rarely becomes successful, and successful people rarely have a victim mentality. And so who do you complain to? Who do you blame for the situation you're in? It doesn't serve you to blame anybody. That's the point. There's no benefit in it except perhaps to get a little bit of sympathy. So if you have goals, which this is a goal setting session, is to garner sympathy, is to have people pity you, well, then complaining and blaming may be a way to do it. If your goal is to end up ultimately happy and successful, then you got to stop blaming anybody for anything ever again. I know that was a long explanation on slide number 1, but I promise you, if I could have recorded you during Christmas, gosh, there was probably a little bit of blaming going on. I don't know who was supposed to pick up the gravy, who forgot the cranberries, who didn't get enough wrapping paper, whatever the case might be. There's a lot of people who were probably blaming earlier today. They're probably criticizing right before you got on this call. When you get off the call, you might say, well, boy, oh boy, whoever invited me on wasted my time, and you're going to blame them for something. Look, if you find yourself blaming, complaining, or criticizing, you're heading down a path that does not end up with success. So there's your first your first aha moment, or maybe some awareness from today's message. I'm going to give you some great quotes because I think some of the wisest people in the world and the great poets of the world have mentioned and referenced goal setting, and I think it's great. The retailer J.C. Penney said long-range goals keep you from being frustrated by short-term failures. In the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. What are daily acts of trivia? Well, many of you have been busy. You've had a very busy day. And I've had a lot of people like this around me and in my life. I got a big life with a lot of people involved. And there's many people who say, Jeff, I'm working so hard. I'm putting in so much effort and I'm putting in so much time. And my question always is the time and the effort focused on getting you somewhere? Or is it what they said here in this quote, a daily act of trivia? Are you don't have any big goals or ideas of what to do or where to go or how to get to the next level. So in the meantime, you're doing busy work. You're doing work that you could pay someone else to do, that someone else could do, that maybe perhaps doesn't need to be done right away. There are probably a whole bunch of priorities which change your life, that'll grow your life, that'll make you more successful, happier, fulfilled, that you're putting off doing busy work because you don't have it clearly in your mind what else you should be doing with that time because you don't have enough goals. Success is the progressive realization of predetermined, worthwhile goals. Paul Meyer. If you're bored with life, some people are bored. Have you ever had your kids tell you they're bored? I've got a bunch of kids. My wife and I have 6 kids at home. And believe it or not, these last 2 weeks on vacation with everything that we've got have said, I'm bored. I'm bored. I really want something to do. If you're bored with life, you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things. You don't have enough goals. Simple as that. You just don't have enough goals. He who every morning plans the transactions of the day and follows that plan carries a thread that'll guide him through a labyrinth of even the most busy lives. Victor Hugo. Got some more quotes here. Bear with me. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes here soon. Goals are dreams with deadlines. So, hey, I wish I had a better job. I wish I made more money. I wish I had better friends. I wish I was healthier. I wish. You need a deadline. Without by the way, I believe in wishing. I think it's the origin of many great things. Dreaming and wishing are great things. Put a timeline on it. Just put a deadline on it, and all of a sudden it becomes a goal. Let's see. Without goals and plans to reach them, you're like a ship that sailed with no destination. So imagine you want to take your family on a vacation and you just pack up. Where are we going? Should we bring warm clothes or shorts and t-shirts? Well, I don't know where we're going. Should we fill up the tank? Are we going far? Are we going down the street? I don't know. Is there availability in the Airbnbs and all? I don't know. How ridiculous would it be to pack up the family and go on a vacation and have no idea where you're going or where you want to go? The secret to productive goal setting is in establishing clearly defined goals, writing them down, focusing on them several times a day with words, pictures, and emotions as if we've already achieved them. Dennis Waitley. Takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. So while you're doing all the wishing, you might grab a pen and paper and start writing. It takes the same energy. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goals. Have you seen people or had people in your life, for every dream and every goal you have, they have the reason it's not going to happen? They're really quick with the reason it's not going to happen, with the obstacle, with the challenge that lies ahead. Look, there's obstacles and opportunities everywhere in our life. Every direction you look, every stage of our life, right alongside each other. There's risk and return. There's opportunity and obstacles. What do you choose to focus on? There are people that constantly focus on the obstacles, constantly focus on the problems, and guess what you manifest? Whatever you think about the most, whatever you focus on the most, that's what you grow in your life. You know, some people, they sit around this time of year and they go, man, how am I ever going to get out of debt? I owe this, I owe this, I owe this, I owe this. And they worry about it and they think about it and they concentrate on it. The more you focus on the problem, the more you grow it. You've heard this before, but we're supposed to spend less than 10% on our problem of our time and energy and focus, and 90% on the solution. You have to quickly identify the problem and start working on the solution. My philosophy of life, Ronald Reagan quote, is that if we make up our mind what we want to make of our lives or what we're going to make of our lives, and then just work hard towards that goal, we never lose. Somehow we win out. The big challenge is what then? Many people never make up their mind what they want to make of their lives. That's the billion-dollar question, the million-dollar question. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your life to add up to? What's it supposed to look like? Can you stop long enough and get a dream and a vision of your life? I've read a book once on visualization. They say if you could visualize with extreme detail what it is you want, your chances of getting it go up by some 50+% immediately just by being able to visualize it. So not having a vision of your life, of your future, of your goals, may be the very thing that holds you back. And then the one you don't like, the D word. Most people hate the D word, everybody. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So you got all these dreams, you write it down, you've got all these beautiful goals, you put it in a leather binder, you show your loved ones, all your friends, your boss, whatever, your parents, your spouse, you're proud of the goals you wrote down, but then the discipline is really the divider. The discipline, either you have it, you don't, you practice it, you don't, you get back on the horse or you stay down. It's up to you, but a lot of people fail when it comes to the discipline necessary to achieve what it is they want. They've got the ability, but they don't have the discipline. So that's one of the biggest ones. So back when we started this class, I had a great assistant. His name was Chuck, a good friend of mine. And I had this library, this bookshelf full of books on success and wealth and accomplishment. And I said, hey, I need to prove my point. I'm going to pay you for the next however long it takes. I want you to go in the bookshelf there and just grab out random books from my bookshelf and find where it references goals and goal setting. And so he went in there and he spent a week and he went through all these books, Michael Jordan's book, Driven from Within, Sam Walton's book, all these biographies and autobiographies. John Maxwell, one of my favorite leadership authors, his book on the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, pages 34 to 42. And I don't know if it's soft cover or hard cover, whatever, but it's in all the books. The Millionaire Mind, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Magic of Thinking Big, The Millionaire Secret, Think and Grow Rich, page 36, Lincoln on Leadership, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, my friend Steve Siebold. Look, it's in every book. Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life. So all these books and every other book, and every time I download an Audible and listen to it, almost everything has a reference or an entire chapter. And then, of course, there are entire books and courses on goal setting, but it all references goal setting. It's that powerful, everybody. So I don't think I need to make a case. If you're not goal setting, if you're not planning out your life, you're not accomplishing nearly as much as you could have. And it's not just, we'll talk about a lot of measures in life. I'm not talking money. A lot of people think, well, when I'm talking goal setting, it's just about the money. I promise you right now, that's not what we're talking about. It's every area of your life. If you don't have goals for your relationships, hey, sometimes they're going good, sometimes they're not. If you don't have goals for your faith, sometimes you're on it, sometimes you're off it. Your giving game, how much you give, how much you do for others. You know, if you have goals for it, how much you're going to give, you're coming into this year. How much you're going to give this next year? Do you know how much you're going to give? Or are you just, well, if I have any extra, I'm going to give it. Or are you just for sure, I want to make this much so I could give this much, whatever the case might be. So I would just tell all of you on the call right off the bat that if you're not a goal setter, you could see from all those books and all those quotes, you're probably not having the life that you're supposed to have and that you could be having. You, the way you are, who you are, you don't have to change who you are. You just need to get a little more focus and where you put your precious time. So look, here's the mindset around this also. And this is why it's not just about wealth. Have you ever seen unhappy, wealthy people? Have you ever met somebody? They're rich, but they're miserable. They make Christmas movies about Scrooge, right? And all these movies and people, and some wealthy people that are very unhappy. They're miserable. They got all the money, but they don't have the friends. They don't have the relationships. They don't trust anybody. They don't like people. People don't like them. They've used that money improperly, whatever the case might be. That's just one of the issues. So how about, have you ever seen powerful people ruin their lives? You look at people and they're heads of state, presidents of countries. They're in Congress. They're the mayor of this, the head of that. And they got power, but they ruin their lives with the power. And they ruin other people's lives with the power. So the things that people want the most, wealth and power, two of the things that people claim if they only had a little more of these things, it would make their life better. Would it necessarily, is the question. Have you ever seen accomplished people battle depression? Man, they're at the top of their game. Well, Robin Williams, one of the best comedians of all time, battled depression. I can't go into it, all of them, but you see them. Athletes at the top of their game, famous actors and authors and people all over in the world. They're battling depression. And where does that come from? I'm not going to get into that today, but could it be possible that they keep repeating the bad things that happen to them in their life and where they're not and how they underachieved and how disappointed people are with them? Maybe they care too much what people think of them. The point is, we always find powerful people, wealthy people, and accomplished people. They're not all happy. They're not all fulfilled. And so we got to start with the end in mind. I think a lot of people, they spend all their energy, all their time, all their effort climbing that ladder of success only to find out it was leaning against the wrong wall, that they didn't think far enough to decide, okay, and then what? So I accomplish this, I get this promotion, I make this money, I gain this power, I gain this influence, I gain the Nobel Peace Prize, or I gain an Oscar. Then what? You got to ask yourself, and then what? Because if everything is banking on that accomplishment, you've probably all heard before, be careful what you wish for. Isn't that a weird statement? Why would I be careful? Shouldn't I have reckless abandon with what I wish for? Shouldn't I just wish for everything and go for it? Well, you got to be careful, because if you wish for it, obsess over it and want it, and then you sacrifice for it and you finally get it, maybe you've spent years, chasing the wrong rabbit. Maybe you spent years chasing the wrong goals. And then you go into your depression, or you crash because it's not what you expected it to be. Take a look at this road in this picture, everybody. Have you ever driven on a road like this? I live here in North Georgia, and there's the Blue Ridge Mountains real close to me. And if you drive up through Chattanooga, I've driven past going to Nashville a whole bunch of times, and you have to drive up through the curvy mountains in Chattanooga. If you go the other way and you go to Asheville, North Carolina, there's beautiful mountains there, and you got to drive up through the mountains, and there's very short hairpin turns. And so we were just down in Costa Rica recently, a little group of friends of mine, and man, some of those roads were just one car each direction. And some of them were, on the edge of a cliff. And so in addition to that, imagine you're on a windy road through the mountains, but also imagine it's at night, and imagine it's raining. Have you ever driven at night in the rain on a windy road through the mountains? It's scary. And a lot of people have a version of that. They're driving up north through a whiteout, maybe it's a blizzard, or they're down south in a hurricane, and you're driving and you literally have to stop your car and put your hazards on the highway because you just can't see ahead of you. I wondered a lot of years in leadership when I met really good people, high caliber, good quality, good parents, good spouses, good character people, and they weren't accomplishing. They were going slow through life. And I always wondered to myself, why is this person not so much further ahead? Why aren't they moving so much faster through the process and through the system? And what I found was, in many cases, they didn't know where they were going. They didn't have powerful enough goals. They didn't have a clear-cut vision of where they wanted to end up. So they went slower. They automatically slow down. On a bright, sunny 70-degree day on a straightaway, there's no cops out. You're on a farm road. Man, you punch it. You go so fast, you're not worried about anything. And it's because you can see so far ahead. And so I believe in our lives, the further you can see ahead, the faster you go. The more you get done, the more you can accomplish. Vince Lombardi, the great Vince Lombardi, said, "I firmly believe that any man's finest hour is that moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle victorious." And, that's one of my favorite quotes, everybody. I don't know if you're a Vince Lombardi fan, but I would tell you, have you worked your heart out in a good cause and for a good cause? And then you're just wiped out, but you're there victoriously. It's one of the greatest moments in life for people. So let's start with the end in mind. If you are going to see far and it is going to be clear and you want to reach all the way out to the end, one of the things I haven't seen in a lot of goal setting courses, and I'm going to talk about it here on this one because I think it's important, is, you know what a eulogy is, everybody? Hopefully you do. If you don't know what a eulogy is, it's what your loved ones say about you at your funeral. You've passed away, and it's your wake or your funeral, and your surviving spouse, your surviving children, your priest from your church or your pastor, whatever your faith leader is, they're there speaking all the good they can of you, and they're trying to summate your life. Some of you have done this before, and some of you have never imagined it. But can I tell you, no matter what you do, you're not getting out of this thing alive. Most of you have heard that before. There's no way out of this life in your skin and body. Now, I'm a Christian, and I believe in an eternal life, but on earth, in your body, you've got one shot here, and you're not getting out of it alive. So the question is, what do you want to be remembered for? If you were to die today, God forbid, what would you be remembered for? And by the way, we don't know when our time is, do we? Some people, they have an ailment and it comes slowly, and some people it comes instantaneously. And I lost a cousin last week, 34 years old, got out of the Navy, totally healthy, not on drugs, and just didn't wake up in the morning. We still don't have the autopsy back to see what happened to him. But a young, healthy man, 34 years old. He didn't plan on that. No one planned on it. So what do you want to be remembered for if today was the day? Why would you put all the pressure on your family to have to come up with what you stood for and what your life added up to? So in this goal setting, more than any other, in this class, one of the things we need to start with is writing your own eulogy. What do you want to be remembered for? Now, this thing is going to be the hardest thing you do in the goal setting process. It's so easy to know that you need to put a new roof on this spring before the rainy season because you got a leaky roof. What's not so easy is deciding what you want your whole life to add up to and why. I went through probably 50 renditions. I wrote all these things down for my eulogy. And you know what? Most of them, the first 10, 20 versions, were so that I could look good for people that would read my eulogy if I had passed away. Like they'd go on into my safe and pull out my will and my trust, and they pull out my eulogy and read it. And they go, "Oh, wow, what a great guy." My mom would be happy. My pastor of my church would be so impressed and proud. And I had to crush those and crumble them up and throw them away, because your life is not about impressing someone else. It's about figuring out yourself. The whole goal is figuring out, what do you want to be remembered for? And so I wrote a eulogy, and then you narrow it down. Your eulogy could be 10 pages. It could be a small book. But for respect of this class today, I got it narrowed down to a few sentences, and I'm going to share it with you. But and it's your goal. Obviously, you're not there yet. Some of these things could be pie in the sky. Some of these things could seem out of reach. Some of these things are just still wishes for you. They're dreams for you. But if you don't get them on paper and you don't start putting this together, well, then you're never going to have the full direction. And you got to think past. You have to use, and then what? Well, I want to be rich. And then what? I want to be remembered for this. And then what? And why? So Jeff Levitan, I'm saying this in third person because it's my eulogy. Jeff Levitan was a vessel for God to use to do his work on earth. Jeff inspired millions of people through his books, his life example, and his method of living life on purpose. The creation of All for One and Better are generationally improving millions of lives. Jeff unconditionally loved people. He lived his life to the fullest, loved, laughed, and pursued everything his heart desired through his multi-billion-dollar estate and his incredibly driven and focused family and followers. His legacy will continue. So a few items in here. I want to inspire people. So I've decided my purpose and maybe my gift is to inspire people. How? Well, I'm going to inspire them through some of my books, my example, just the way I live my life, and my method of living life on purpose. This goal setting class, by the way, you're probably you might be in the tens of thousands of people who have taken this class over the last, I did my first class back when I was 30, so 23 years ago, and I've done it every year. So thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people have taken this course. The creation of All for One and Better are probably going to be my legacy. They're going to be two of the things that I create and build that I'll be remembered for, hopefully long after I'm gone. I unconditionally love people. Well, I struggle with that one. I'm very conditional in my love. I'm trying to become more Christ-like and become more unconditional, but I still struggle with this. This is who I want to become, right? I live my life to the fullest. I got to get after that. Love, laugh, pursued everything my heart desired. Multi-billion-dollar estate. I'm not there yet. Do I think I could get there? Absolutely. Am I working on it? Absolutely. Do I have a plan? I'll share it with you in a minute. But I think it's going to be my driven and focused family and some of my followers, just people that subscribe to the stuff I'm up to. I believe they will carry on a lot of my messaging, a lot of my ideas and the things I create, and will become part of my living legacy and my legacy after I'm gone. My children are going to be my living legacy. The people that follow me, read my books, take my classes, they'll be part of the legacy that lives on. So what are you creating right now that could outlive you? Are you thinking about anything that could outlive you? What about just sitting in front of a phone and recording a message to your future grandkids or your future great-grandkids, you know? How many of you never met your great-great-grandparents? You know, most people never have. Some may have met their great-grandparents once, and then it's just we're in this era where you maybe later on in life long for an understanding of who they were and what they were like and maybe what traits you took on. So if there's anything you could do to create some ideas and write down some things you want, this is starting with the end in mind. This is so important because it fast forwards all the way to the end of your life. And then just on the side with this big grand statement of who you want to become and what you want to do, don't forget the things you like. Sometimes you got to sit down, and I'm going to go macro and then micro. Macro is I want to leave a legacy. Micro is I like world travel. I like history. I like timepieces. I like outdoors. I like things, you know. So don't forget to put down the things you like, because often while you're pursuing your grand legacy, you have to rescind back to just doing something you like once in a while to reward yourself and keep your attitude and enthusiasm up towards your bigger, grander goals that you want to achieve. Part of that goal you saw is All for One. Back when I was 30 years old and I was in retirement, I retired early, everybody. I tried it at 30. If you ever saw the movie Rudy, you know, he grew up kind of in the lifestyle that I grew up, blue collar kid. He was in Northwest Indiana. The dream was to go to Notre Dame and play football. And his parents and his teachers all tried to talk him out of it and tell him, hey, Rudigers don't do that. They climb to middle management in the factory and retire there. And that's it. Well, so I subscribed to that. Once you have enough money, you don't need to work anymore, right? And so I did. I tried to retire at the age of 30. And it didn't last. It didn't stick. It was not who I was. I needed a break. I needed a vacation, but I certainly didn't need to retire. So while I was in my short, brief 3 to 6 months of retirement, I realized what was missing and why I wasn't happy. I was very self-aware. I was not happy because I was missing contribution. I went from being in the financial industry, helping middle America with financial literacy, learning about money, and I was helping young entrepreneurs get their crap straight so they can go win in life and be their own boss and leave their jobs maybe if they wanted to and take on full control over their own lives. And so I was contributing to young entrepreneurs and families and individuals with their finances. And then I went to nothing. I went to very selfish, all about me. I'm retired now. I paid the price. I did the work and I wasn't happy. And I said, well, if I'm going to come back though, the first time I did it for 5 years, it was for the money. I was broke. I wanted to see what it would be like to have money. And now I got it. And it didn't totally do what I thought it would. There's a law of diminishing returns. Of course you want more, but is your next house going to bring you as much joy as your first one, or your next sports car, or your next Rolex, or your next fancy purse, or whatever it is you got? Is there a law of diminishing returns when it comes to money? And I would argue that yes, there is. What most people miss out on is this little spot in their heart called contribution. There's the 6 human needs. You've probably heard it from Tony Robbins. People need certainty and uncertainty, but they also need contribution. They need to feel like they're contributing. And so I said, if I'm going to come back, it can't be for the money. I won all the trophies. I got all the awards. I got paid a bunch of money. There has to be something more meaningful, a give back program. And I thought, well, where could I give back and make the biggest difference in the world? And I thought, well, who needs it the worst? Who's the worst off on the planet? And I thought, orphans in third world countries. These are probably the worst off people in the world because a lot of times there's 155 million of them, by the way, today. In today's day and age, there's 155 million orphans. And I do not believe in all these entitled kids everywhere. I've got a few of them living at my house. But I would tell you this, I do believe kids deserve someone to protect them. I believe little children deserve someone to make sure they are fed and that they can get health care if they need it, and an education. So I started a charity to do just that called All for One. Started in 2000. It's 23 years old. And the mission is to change the lives of children around the world and improve their condition and situation. We have helped over 25,000 kids so far, but we're just getting started. And although this class is free today, I will make one request one time, and it's right now. If you want to give even a little bit, go to All for One. You see it at the top.org and make a donation. You can do it right online. I used to have people donate as an entry into this course, and I didn't have you do it as a condition, trying to get more unconditional with my love and my entrance into my classes. But I will tell you, we always need to give more to these kids and help save their lives. So that's All for One. Better. This is recent. I tried retiring again for like the 4th time in my life. And during retirement, I started thinking of things that I would do differently than what I've done the prior 25, 30 years. And I thought, let me try this and make some changes and make some adjustments. And I thought, what if I could go back and find all the people that I've ever met, that ever met me, and create something where they can improve their life? How can I give back to them? And so a betterlife.com is a destination site where people can go, and we are going to constantly build content that people can go and get some life hacks and shortcut some of their goals and dreams and make things better. We're going to put up and post great articles. So that's being built out. And then there's a little income piece of it. Some people think having a better life includes having a better income. So I created a referral platform. You don't have to do anything except refer people, and you can get compensated for it. And you know, I could have picked up golf. I do golf, but I don't want to golf more than once a month or once every couple months. Some people want to do it every day, and no harm, no foul. My hobbies just happen to revolve around helping people again and creating things and doing things. So in my little off time these last year or two, I created a new little outlet. I'm having fun. And we helped individuals and businesses get about $500 million back. And we've paid millions of dollars out to the field in year one. And it's been really fun. So I know that that's going to be part of the legacy. All for One will be part of the legacy. Better will be part of the legacy. The people that I have coached and helped will be part of my legacy. My family is my legacy. So I'm sharing these things with you so you can get an idea of what creating a legacy and a eulogy would look like for you and yourself. So enough about me. Let's get into your eulogy. I'm going to give you little pointers here. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Obviously, we're on a tight schedule today. Believe it or not, we're 10 minutes away from the first hour being up. I do want you to try to write a eulogy. Open up a piece of paper. I want you to see how hard it is, honestly, but I want you to open up your notebook or grab a piece of blank paper, and this will help you come up with some areas. If you've ever listened to goal setting or watched people, they all come down to these main categories in one way or the other. It's somewhat close. There's material goals. Of course, people want a nice retirement, but you got to be specific. What does that look like? How much are we talking about? You maybe family and social goals. What does that look like? What does your family look like? What do those relationships look like? Have you been estranged to a sister of yours or a brother of yours, a parent of yours? Have they done something and wronged you so bad and you're finding it so difficult to forgive them? Or you did something bad to them and you're worried that they might not forgive you and they're not in your life. Well, is that the life you want? Why is it that at the end of your life, you're willing to start making some of these calls and reaching back out? Why don't you do it now? I interviewed somebody in my Better Life podcast. He's the #1 expert on forgiveness. And he wrote a book on it. They're doing I think Angel Studios, the one that does The Chosen, is going to make a movie about him. I'm not sure if they're going to be the ones, but anyway, if you look me up, you'll see some of the podcast, the interview with this guy. He talks about forgiveness, and it's forgiving. And so maybe it's family and social goals. Maybe it's your faith and contribution goals. Why do people get closer to their faith the closer they get to dying? Why is that? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why is it that they're like, well, I might be facing the end now, just in case. I want to make sure I go the right direction, just in case. I want to make sure I have a good afterlife if there is one. Why do you wait till the end? Maybe the joy and maybe the peace comes from your faith, whatever your faith might be, earlier in life by practicing that. Business goals, personal development goals, whatever they are. Start writing down what it looks like at the end of your life. By the way, if you didn't notice on my eulogy, if I went back a couple spots, I put a date on it. That's the crazy thing. Now, you might think, Jeff, you're crazy. I was following you all the way up there. Look at the top. October 26th is my birthday, by the way. And I put it way out there. Now, I don't know if you could speak things into existence. I've read all the books you have on manifesting what you dream about, obsess over, and focus on. But just in case it's true, I'm going to put that date way out there. I'm going to be of the belief that medical advances, scientific advances, we're going to be able to go in for a procedure, take a pill, go under the knife, whatever, and extend 5 years, extend 10 years, not be in pain, whatever the case might be. I think you're already seeing, you probably read the book, The Blue Zones. If you haven't read the book, The Blue Zones, there's like 5-6 places in the world where people on the very regular live way beyond 100 years of age. And they talk about the few things that help people extend their life, the sense of community and family in one household, staying active physically and keeping your mind active, eating raw foods and not such processed foods. So there's things in there. So there are ways to live a longer life. And there's experts on it now, and you just got to get one of those as a mentor. But getting back to your goals, everybody, try to write some of your goals and some of this eulogy down and figure out what you want to be remembered for in these areas. We're going to keep moving, just cut out of time. We're going to need to. But once you do this, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the screen. Some of you are probably scrolling through all the pictures. Who's on today? Who's not on? How many people are on? I know how this goes. I've been there before. There's about 400 people on this call today. And so there's people that are long in the tooth. That's a nice way of saying old. There's some people here that are older. There's people here on this call that I know are in their teens. So they're watching this and they got so much time ahead. I remember when I wrote my first set of goals, boy, oh boy, it was a long, long time ago, everybody. And I would just tell you that long-term goals are different from everybody. If you're 20 years old, your long-term goals might be 80 years from now, 70 years from now. And some of you might, your long-term goal might be 10 years. You got 10 years left. I will tell you this, that you could get a lot done in those last 10 years. You can get a lot done in 5 years. You can get a lot done in a year. But if you don't have a plan and you don't have goals, you may squander some of that precious time. No one argues at the end of their life how precious their time is. Nobody at the end of their life wishes that they had more money, wishes that they had more things. They all wish they had more time. And so just keep that in mind as you're doing your goals. You're going to get these forms, by the way. So when it comes to these goal setting, this is my first. Dennis Waitley said the reason most people never reach their goals, and I think this is important, is that they don't define them or ever seriously consider them as believable or achievable. That's pie in the sky for them. Who am I to be successful? Who am I to be this? Who am I to be that? And by the way, I believe in humility. I love humility. I love people that are humble, but it doesn't mean you're weak. There's a difference between being kind and being weak. And you could be kind and humble and still want to achieve a whole bunch with your life. Winners can tell you where they're going, what they plan to do along the way, and more importantly, who will be sharing the adventure with them. That's a Dennis Waitley quote. I love the quote quite a bit. So, all right. Let's talk about goal setting. See, long-term, we're going to talk long-term, could be 50 years for some people, but it's definitely 10 years plus. Midterm, 5 to 10, short-term, 0 to 5, just to keep this in mind. What we do is we set the big goal where we want to end up. Why do we do that? So if we're off course a whole bunch of the time, like the space shuttle that landed on the moon or any of these things that land on Mars, you know, they all say they're off course 99% of the time. It's just constant course correction, and then they land softly. Think about the airplanes. If you've taken a flight recently, you probably jumped on a plane and you flew 2 hours, 3, 4 hours, and you took off, and man, that plane maybe hit some turbulence. Maybe the winds threw it a little off course, but then it gently landed safely at your destination. That's the goal. It could be, you could be a little off course, but you want to know what that destination is. And so the relationship between your long and short-term goals, instead of planning from here forward like most people do, you go all the way to the end, decide where you want to end up, break the time in half. Where do you have to be on track? Then break it in half again, half again, half again, half again, all the way till you're to tomorrow. And then now your short-term goals are linked to something bigger than your immediate desire and want. Why is that important? Well, most people don't achieve their goals because it gets tough along the way. They decide they want this, and then halfway through, it takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of commitment. Maybe things aren't going the way they wanted them to, and they give up because it's not tied to their entire being. It's not tied to their entire legacy. It's not tied to what they want to be remembered for the rest of their life. I run into old friends of mine all the time that took these goal setting classes, and I see them and I love it. I'm smiling, as you could see, but they're like, Jeff, you still after those goals? You still trying to build that castle? You still trying to go become a billionaire, or you're going out there to do this or that? And I said, absolutely. Why would I change it? I was in a great state of mind. By the way, never make a decision when you're down, because that's your fear making a decision. Never write goals or make plans when you're miserable, upset, angry, disappointed. Never write down a goal. Never make a big decision when you're down. That is your fear making that decision for you. You don't want to make desperate decisions. They're not going to be good ones. You want to make decisions when you're in a great state of mind, when you're comfortable, when you're happy, when you're feeling good. That's when you start putting these goals down. This was my first set of goals. Just so happens I'm I don't know what you call them, a hoarder or something. I don't throw anything away. I've got stuff, I've got files, everything I've done, every interaction I've ever had. I printed it and I got it in a file somewhere. These are my goals I made in 1996. I had gotten in the financial industry the year before. I had my letterhead and I typed these goals up and gave them to my mentor. I couldn't think. By then, I didn't take any big classes on goal setting. I did not write my eulogy. I didn't have my goals for when I was 50 and 60 and 70. But what I did is I did have a 1-year goal. And I did it before the end of the year, about this time of year. And I decided, where do I want to be January in 1997 when I was sitting there doing the goals in 96. So I had all these promotions I wanted to make. I wanted to build a certain size business. My financial business had a recruiting element to it. How many agents did I want to bring on board and train? How much production were we going to do? What was my little office called a base shop going to do? Put all that stuff down. Then I said, where do I have to be in 6 months to be on track to hit that year goal? Now, some people go like this. Some of you are rocket ships. When you decide you're going to do something, you go bananas. You go hit that gym hard. You do a CrossFit and all these other things at the same time. And some of you are steady eddies. You're more of a 60-40. You never do a year and have your goals broken down 50-50. Half in the second half, half in the first half. Because you're not factoring in growth. If you're going to factor in growth, if you're a steady eddy, you might be 60-40. 60% of your goal is in the second half of the year. 40% is in the first. If you're more of a rocket ship, you might be 70% second half of the year, 30% getting ramped up, ready to go. Then you break the 6 months into 3 months, and then you break your 3 months. In this case, I broke it down into a week, and it came down to something very simple. I was young, single, and broke. And remember, if you look at these things, I had these goals of making $20,000 a month at that time. And it came all the way down to inviting 1 or 2 people a week to my seminar, and my office inviting 15 people a week. And then I figured out we would write about 5,000 production and sales and do 4 sales at one sale every couple of days, 10 appointments a week, how many calls a week. And then I rated it and graded myself on how I did at the end of the year. And I gave the copy of how I turned out. And by the way, probably 70%, 75% of it got done. But I read this thing every single day. And this goes back, some of you weren't born when I wrote these. I'm looking at Jetty Zedro right there. He wasn't, I don't think he was born in 96 yet, maybe, I don't know. But look, he wasn't. So I'm here working on my financial future. And some people on this call weren't even born yet. But this is the manifestation of years and years of doing this process. Let me go a little further. So here's some key points for setting your long-term goals. Just take some of these ideas down. Maybe part of your legacy is going to be writing a book or doing, like nowadays, a lot of people that aren't writers are recording things. They're doing podcasts, or they're expressing themselves in many, many different ways besides maybe just writing a book. Maybe somebody is going to build a company or be part of a company or lead an organization or lead a church, whatever it might be. Personal development, certainly long-term from now, you want to still be mobile. You want to still be moving. You want to still keep your mind sharp and your body sharp. You want to be mentoring. You want to go from being the mentee to mentoring people at some point in your life also. Family and social. What's it going to look like when you're a grandparent or a great-grandparent? You're just going to pick up when you get there and figure out what it's going to be like? Or would you rather do it now? Would you rather figure out what that looks like now and live into it? Create these expectations and traditions for your family. You know, what traditions do you have right now? Are you a family of traditions? Are you living someone else's traditions? Are you building your own traditions? Contribution and faith. What's that going to look like long-term in your life? Material goals, man, it's so easy. I mean, you could decide how much you want to have, how much you want to make, how much you want to have saved, where you want to have traveled, the old proverbial bucket list. It's not a bad idea. The more you write down, the better. There is no wrong answer, everybody. You'll look at it again and again and decide if that's what you want to do. But maybe you want to do and accomplish something. There's be, do, have. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And what do you want to have? You figure those things out. The sooner you figure these out and write them down, the better opportunity you have to achieve them. I've got some long-term goals. These are my goals by age 90. Look, I'm going to be there. I'm going to live a long life. And so I've got social and family goals. Spend all day loving my family, pouring unconditional love and wisdom into everyone I meet. I'll be the guy who has a good word to say to everybody, a good little something, good little pointer. I want to leave a legacy. I want to help guide people and have my family foundation continue to be able to give to others long after I'm gone. And I want to leave a legacy on the contribution side with the charity and the stuff I've done there. Personal development, if I could get up and move still, I want to move. You've all seen those videos where the 90-year-old guy is skydiving. I think the first Bush skydived at 90. That was one of his goals. Some people are playing golf every day. Some people can't walk at 60. They can't even move anymore. So what does that come down to? Some of it's genetics, but a lot of it is what you actually do with your time. And what do you actually do with your focus? Is your health a priority now? If it's not, it'll be a priority later in life. I want to master the art of inspiring other people. I think it's an art. To talk with somebody and build them up is an art. To talk to somebody and bring them down is very commonplace. So can you build up people around you? What are your material goals? What's your net worth going to be? Your net worth isn't your self-worth, but do you want to leave something? You can leave somebody something in cash. You could leave it in insurance. You could leave it in property. There's a lot of different ways to leave a legacy. But if you look at a lot of my long-term goals, it's leaving a legacy. That just word sticks with me. If you look at the bottom, there's hours. We're going to talk about the sacrifice or the commitment you have to make in order to achieve these things. But as you make your goals, don't make small goals, make big ones. You might say, Jeff, I just don't know that I believe that I could do that. Get them on paper anyway. It's something you look at. I wrote these goals down and they were so far out of my reach when I wrote them. You saw I started writing goals in 1996. By the year 2000, I had perfected my process and I wrote my first set of goals. And here we are. I'm at goals for age 55 now. And gosh, I'm there. By the way, to hit that goal by 90, I need to be here at 75. I need to have hit these goals at 75. This is my backwards engineering. And then to hit these goals at 75, well, I got to be somewhere at 60. So 60, when I wrote my goals at 30 and I did my age 60 goals, that was 30 years later. Like, what am I going to be and what am I going to be doing at age 60? I'm 30 right now. Is it even worth writing these goals down? And do you know till this day, all of my achievements, I don't think I work. I do work hard, but you know why I work harder than a lot of people? Because I have goals. I've got something to do when I wake up. I don't always wake up to my alarm clock. I usually don't. I usually wake up and then I look at what time is it? It's still dark out. Why? My goals wake me up. My dreams wake me up. All the things I have going on in my life wake me up. If you celebrated Christmas, let me ask you, did you have to wake your kids up or did they wake you up on Christmas morning? Juan, did you have to go wake your kids up? Get out of bed. No. Did anybody have to wake their kids up, their little kids, if you have little ones, for Christmas morning? No. But why do you have to wake them up for school? Why? Get out of bed, get ready, brush your teeth, eat breakfast. You got school. Why? Do they, as a human being, change? No, they have something very exciting to look forward to, and they pop out of bed without an alarm on Christmas morning, and they don't want to get out of bed when it's a school day usually. What does that mean? Are there adults that are that way? If you're an adult and you cannot wait to get into bed at night, and it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, you don't have enough goals. You just don't have enough goals. Your dreams aren't big enough. You're living scared. You might be on the verge of depression. And all I got to say is make some goals. Start deciding. You can make big grand ones of what you're going to do at age 80, or you can just write down what you want next. Start writing down what you want, not what you don't want. Maybe you're focusing way too much attention on what you don't want. So, shorter term goals, midterm goal setting. Look, here's some ideas. By the way, these categories, what you'll see is I move them based upon my priorities. When I was young and single, not married, no kids, my material goals were number one. Someone taught me a long time ago, if you get your financial house in order, if you understand the law of compound interest, the rule of 72, if you could get your pile started young enough, it will go and do all the hard work for you if invested properly the rest of your life. It'll take care of you. So if you're going to prioritize something young and early in life, and this is the greatest mistake I see young people make, is they're out trying to have as much fun as they can in their 20s, and then they have to pay the price in their 50s and 60s. But if they could have just put their nose to the grindstone, figured out ways to make and save a bunch of money in their 20s, they can put that money to work for them and enjoy the riches of it, enjoy the choices of it, enjoy the freedoms of it the whole rest of their life, from age 30 like me, all the way till, let's say I live to 120, right? That's 80, 90 years of enjoying financial security because I sacrificed, not ever, but in the right time frame early in life. And I see the young people not getting serious yet. I would tell you, if I could make a recommendation to anybody on this call under 30, man, make your money now and get it working for you so you don't have to work for it the rest of your life. So my material goals were so important: my net worth, amount in savings, cars, things that I wanted. Look, those are the type of things. One form of wealth is having staff. It's having people helping you with life. You know, it would be silly to have a bunch of money and still be doing all the things that you don't like doing that you could easily pay someone else to do. Once you figure out what your personal self-worth is, you start taking a lot more caution of where you spend your time. If it's not personally fulfilling, personally enjoyable, and contributing to the lives of others, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe you should be paying someone else to do it and focusing on your God-given abilities and the things you're special with and in. In your business goals, look, I used to be in financial services. I still am, I guess, financial services, but some of you on this call might be in real estate. Some of you on this call might be in the mortgage business or some sort of sales. As you see my goals here, you have to have goals of where you're going to be, how big your organization looks like, how many sales, how big your office staff looks like. What's your payroll going to look like? Maybe you're going to have a growing payroll because you have a growing income. You know, are you going to invest? What are you going to invest in? Are you going to invest in real estate? Are you going to invest in maybe angel investing or venture capital, private equity? What are you going to invest in as time goes? If you don't think about it now, when that day does come, you might make a major mistake that you don't want to make. Personal development. Where do you want to be? How much energy are you going to need to accomplish all these goals? When you start planning out all these goals, is it okay to be puttered out and tiring out after a couple hours of hard work and focus? Are you mentally weak? Like as soon as some stress and challenges come in, do you fold? Or are you mentally strong? There's physical, there's mental. Do you meditate? Do you spend time listening and reading the books and improving yourself? Do you think you're already there? Are you already fully accomplished? You can't get any better, you know? Social and family. Is it going to be accidental how many kids you have? Or are you going to do it intentionally and decide? You know, what do you want that family to look like? Are you going to be totally hands-on or hands-off? Are you going to be a disciplinarian or are you going to be a pushover? Are you going to raise them in, you know, in a certain faith? What are you going to expect of your kids? Are they going to have chores? Or are they not going to have chores? You know, you should decide that maybe before you have kids and take a look at that and think about it and plan it out instead of let it just happen. I know some of you right now are like, man, Jeff, but what about spontaneity? Isn't that important? And I say, of course it is. I plan out spontaneity. It's in my schedule for on Thursdays from 3 in the afternoon to 5. Whatever happens, happens. And it's a little bit of a, tongue-in-cheek joke, but I'm not going to live my life by the seat of my pants and wing it. It's just too important. It's the only one I've got. And I want to be well planned out. There'll be times in there that I'm free to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. But most of the time, I'm going to be focused and intentional with my time and energy. Where do you want to make a difference in your life? Your charitable causes. So you keep backwards engineering. Here's my age 65 goals. And it used to be so far away, but it's not anymore. My hours are changing in here. I'm at 14 hours a week for work in one category, in the business category, in 70 hours a week for my family. It's programmed in. I'm not going to wing it. 10 hours a week. Look at business, 20 hours a week. So at this point, I'm expecting to be worth $500 million at age 60. And maybe I'll have 30, 40 million bucks a year coming in by age 60, but I'm working 20 hours a week. It's not fair. You ever take a look at what some of these super successful billionaires earn and make and how little time they put in? And then the guy who puts in, 10, 12, 14-hour days makes 50, 100 grand a year. And yes, is that fair? Well, it's not about fair or not fair. It's about understanding how these things work. If you sacrifice early and put in the time early, at some point, you're not going to trade your time for money. That's one of the lowest forms of compensation in the world, is trading your valuable time for any amount of money. Eventually you hopefully will get paid for what you know, not what you do. So there's trading your time, there's getting paid for what you do, then there's getting paid for what you know, and then there's getting paid for who you are. Some people, if someone's famous or super successful, you may have to pay them 100 grand to show up at your convention and speak for an hour. So it's just who they are. You're getting paid for who you are. Are you kidding me? Man, that's incredible. Don't you want to climb the ladder, or are you going to be still trading your time for money later in life? If you do it right, you pay the price early, and later on, you're getting paid for who you are and what you know. And, not for trading your time. So here's shorter term goals. If you're looking at shorter term goals now, we're midterm goals. What does that mean for some of you? You're within 5 to 10 years and you're starting to figure out these topics. You see, you keep breaking it backwards and breaking it backwards and breaking it down in areas and things. What do you want? What do you want it to look like? What is your vision? And if you don't have goals and dreams, you're going to work for someone that does. You're going to pay the price. You're going to have to fall in line under somebody else's goals and dreams because you don't have your own. You understand? And so I want you all to have big dreams, and I want you to have big goals, and I want you to pursue them. How often? All the time, every day, every month, every week, every year, the rest of your life. And it's not a paying a price. It should get to be pretty easy. You should get to do a tune-up as you go further and further, and your tune-up should take care of your life and your business. Short-term goals, man, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty. If you're within 5 years, there's no playing around. You understand? What you do, if you mess up in the short term, in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that can have an effect on where you end up in your midterm goals. And then if you're off track midterm severely, your whole life doesn't add up to what it could have and should have. See, I think maybe it's fear. Maybe I'm operating sometimes under fear. But if I don't get to my goals, I could blow them off for a day. I could blow them off for a week. I could have a bad month. But boy, oh boy, if I have a bad month, those goals don't go away. They roll over. It's like rollover minutes. Those tasks, goals, and accomplishments and sacrifice roll into the next week. They compound into the next month. They compound into the next year. And if you don't do it enough, here's the penalty. Ready? And it's not me penalizing you. It's the universe penalizing you. You just don't have the life that you wanted. You don't get remembered for what you want to be remembered for. You don't have that eulogy read that you wrote because it's so untrue. That's the price. And on the big goals, you understand it, but it breaks all the way down to the little goals. It's the things you do when no one's looking on a daily basis that adds up to a great accomplished life. And so that's why it is important for measures and balances the whole way. These are my short-term goals. Age 50, I can't believe age 55 is a short-term goal. When I hang out with Jetty Zedro here, I feel like I'm 23, like he is. Until I look at my hair and I look at his hair and I look at his physique and my physique, he's in his 20s and I'm 50. I think he's 23. Are you 23? He's 23. I'm 53. But man, I don't know about you. When I hang out with my friends that are in their 70s, I feel like I'm in my 70s. When I hang out with my friends in their 30s, I feel like I'm in my 30s. When I'm playing games with my kids, I feel like I'm a kid again. So your associations really do matter. But I'll tell you, it's shocking to me that here we are in 55 is a short-term goal. It's 2 years away. 2 years from now, I'll be doing this, and these will be my today goals, not my future goals. And I got goals in business. I've got goals for all the businesses I own and all the businesses that I do. Some of the new organizations I'm trying to start up. I'm part of a couple organizations where people network together, and you got to be a multimillionaire to be in the network, and everyone shares not just ideas, but tax concepts and investment ideas. So I want to create a group of people that I enjoy being with, that we sit around a table and all we talk about is creating wealth and making a difference. I've got a minimum now on my real estate deals. If it won't make me $1 million, I'm not doing it. I spent too many times last year. I did great in real estate last year, but I spent weeks and a couple months on a deal that made me a couple $100,000. I'm like, that was a waste of my time. If I could do a deal for a couple $100,000, I could do the same deal for a couple million. It's just another zero in there. And so I've got a floor. If the deal doesn't make me $1 million, I don't do it anymore. I'm just playing at a higher level. Is it comfortable? No way. It's not comfortable. I bought a building last week, of 160,000 square foot building, a $40 million building. Now, I didn't spend 40. It's on sale right now. Office space is at a great sale price right now. If you know what you're doing, which I think I do, I think I got a tremendous deal on it. But I just broke my record of how big of a deal I could do. And so I'm so excited about that. I'm excited about, everywhere that we're going. Personal development. I'm shifting that a little bit for myself and moving it closer forward right now. That's the one thing that I've always put on the back burner. And, I've been in pain this last year. I've had sciatic. You had the sciatic nerve, a little pinch, and it hurts down your whole leg and your back. And I've been limping around. People are like, are you okay? Do you have a bad knee or whatever? And it's not. It's just I'm freaking out of shape, bad. And it's starting to cause me pain. So it's not even like, oh, it's going to shorten my life, which I know it will, but I'm tired of being in pain. So now I got to shift my goals from making millions and just business, and I'm putting my health in front of it all, because health is wealth. So family goals, look, we got vacations to plan out. We got things we want to do. We got kids in school. We have kids we're still trying to get here from Africa that are part of our family that need visas. And so there's expansion there. We do have material goals. That's fun. It's just a way to keep score now. Back in the beginning, it was survival. Now it's just a way to keep score. That's what happens when you end up having money. It's a way of keeping score, and you look for ways to make it serve you and help other people. So it got goals there. And then you look at the hours and the shifting of the hours. So that's literally 2 years out. There's my goals from last year. When you get your 1 year goals, which you're going to get all these forms in an email, these were my goals for last year. And guess what? I had to grade myself. No one else grades you on your life, by the way. Don't ever let anyone else grade you. You grade yourself. But these were my goals for last year, and I had to go through them. And I know there's a few more days left in the year, but what I knocked out, and what I didn't. Some of the categories I got 70% or 80% of my goals accomplished, and some I got 20 and 50%. Overall, with my overall hours, I did about a 66% is what I gave myself, which is a D. So isn't it weird that you could go out and you can make 8 figures in income in business, start a few businesses, invest and do well in a bunch of real estate, have 6 kids, have them all in different schools, 6 kids in different schools, take them all on family vacations, have a charity where you're traveling the world, helping save kids' lives, and you're in Rotary Club. That's my new philanthropy. I love being in my local Rotary Club. I've never done so much for the community before, and the community is doing a lot for me. I love it. But there's a whole nother charity. And I was busy nonstop all year. My family is a busy family. And I got a 66%. I got a D. You know, most people would give themselves such a pat on their back, they would break their arm. They would be bragging about it to everyone they know. Man, I'm the greatest. You ought to buy my course. You ought to come spend money to get my, to get whatever I've got. But I'm not a failure, but 66, if my kids came home with a 66 on their grade, they'd be grounded. That's it. All your devices are being taken away. You're grounded for a 66. So I guess I should ground myself because I got a 66% last year, making 8 figures of income. Isn't that crazy? But that's what happens when you have high standards and you have big goals. I could have been more, so you take all of this, where it came down to? My discipline was about a 6. On a scale of 1 to 10, how disciplined was I in my everyday thoughts and actions? 6. Some days a 4. Once in a while, a 7. Never a 10, never a 9, never an 8. All year long, I was weak in my discipline, and it showed up in every area of my life. And I'm not going to beat myself up. I still got a smile. I love myself. I'm a child of God. I'm doing great. My family's doing great. I've saved some kids' lives last year. Like, things are good, but I could do so much better. And it's just out of curiosity. What's possible? It's not that I needed to impress anybody. I don't need to show off. I don't need to tell everyone how great I am. I'm not doing it for other people. You want to be happy in your life, grow beyond doing everything to impress other people and be worried about what everyone thinks of you. I will tell you this, though. I wonder what I'm capable of. I'm going to die someday. Hopefully it's not for years. Don't you wonder that about yourself, though? Don't you just wonder, is this all you could do? Is this the best you got? How did these other people get so big? How did these other people buy a skyscraper? How did somebody else build a hotel? How did somebody else build a financial services company and sell it for, hundreds of millions of dollars? How did somebody else, do this or do that? Or don't you wonder? I look at people and I'm like, man, they're awesome. That's incredible. Can I do it? So when I grade myself, it's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science, but it's definitely me asking myself, how much do I have in the tank? What do I really have to lose? We're all going to die anyway. Why not live the biggest life I can? Why not just try to live the biggest life that I can while I'm living? If you're going to be living anyway, the business of business is to do it big. That's the whole point of a business. The business of charity is to do as much good as you can for somebody else who can never give it back to you and never return the favor. Personal development, how good of shape can you get in? How far can you run? How much can you lift? Aren't you curious what the human body is actually capable of? Wouldn't that be interesting? Some people, they're like those ultra marathoners. I'm amazed, But can you do it all? Can you only be good in one category and your family has to be sacrificed, or your finances? Can you be in great shape, but you're broke? Or can't you, with a little more focus or a little more attention, be pretty good at all of it and exceptional at the things you love the most? So here's your short-term goal setting. Here's a few points and a few pointers. I've got them for contribution and faith. I got them for social and family. Who do you want a role model? Do you know you need role models in every area of your life? If I'm going to get real serious this year into health, fitness, get my mind, body balanced, I've got to scour the internet and find the best people that I could mentor under, whatever it costs. One of the things I don't think about is how much it's going to cost. How much is it going to cost to buy their course, to go to their seminar, to buy the supplements, to learn how to meditate, to do, whatever it takes. That's what it's about. That's what life's about. If you want something, you pay that price willingly and happily. You got to pay that price if you want the results and you want the return. So look, I've got a 30-year career in financial services. If you're watching this and you're part of a financial services company, look, you need goals for next year. How much are you going to do personally? How much are you going to do with your office, your base shop, your team? How about your entire organization? How are you going to contribute to the greater good of the big company, the mothership, the parent company? How much money are you going to make? But more importantly, how much money are your people going to make? At some point, you got to measure yourself by how much success you've perpetrated in others, not just how much you got for yourself. What about attendance at events? Do you go alone or do you bring a crowd? How's your crowd on this call today? Are you on with 3 people, 2 people, yourself, 10 people? I will tell you this, whether you love this class today, which we're down to the last 29 minutes, by the way, and I am going to finish on time. But if you had 10 people on the call, would you have 10 people that are a little more goal-oriented, a little more ready for next year, a little more ready to sacrifice? Are they going to be better business partners, better family members? What's that going to look like because they took this course today? Do you sit here and go, man, I wish so-and-so was here listening to this. I wish so-and-so saw this and heard this. It would make so much of a difference in their life. Are you going to think that at your Wealth Bowl coming up or your kickoff meetings? Are you going to wish you had more people there or are you going to get more people there? You got to think about that as you're moving closer to it. You got to have goals, your personal development goals. What kind of shape you're going to be in? How much weight you're going to lift? How far are you going to run? What are your measurements going to be? What's your A1C? What's your cholesterol? You need to figure this stuff out. Your blood sugar, whatever. You got to ask yourself, what are you going to do this year to make that better? What about your family? Check your relationships. Some are good, some are bad. There's always within a quarter, they're going great or bad, or somewhere in between. You know what I noticed? If you want, you could put a little more time towards one and make it better. It just takes time and attention and thought. So there you go, your short-term goals, everybody. What do they look like? I'm so excited that you got these short-term goals. And this is what I spent the better part of the last couple of weeks doing, is getting ready for my 2024. I'm sharing this with you it's actually a little personal. I don't know that I want to share all this with you, but I already switched it. I'm trying to move around the picture so I can show you. But look, I want to participate more in my kids' education and their activities. We're deciding whether we want to get some tutoring and maybe move schools for my special needs boys, Noah and Elijah. So Cam and I are deciding on that. Patrick and Shadrach. I swear I just saw Shadrach get on this call from Uganda. He's my boy. He's one of my sons out in Uganda who did not get his visa. Man, look, you guys, if you're on this call, I have you in my goals this year. We're going to get you your visas and get you to America this year. We need to hire a full-time housekeeper. We need that yesterday. Full-time person. We got a giant house. And even though we want our kids to do some chores and stuff like that, we just need help there. I want to reestablish an inner circle of friends, just people that I want to grow old with. I need to keep updating that list. There's always people joining the list and people kind of getting, kicked out of the club. Family vacations. I know we have spring break, summer, Christmas. Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? Figure it out sooner rather than later. But I've got those goals. Personal development. It's second now. So in the category, I've got health equals wealth is my theme for the year. Social and family is first. though, more fun in teaching. Personal development is my priority. Pain-free, great posture, 200 pounds ripped, flexible, muscle balance, discipline, stretch, working out daily, clean eating, portion control, detox quarterly, massage and chiro weekly, get into some yoga and Pilates to help me with my muscle balance. Mind, I got all my Thai friends teaching me how to meditate. So I need to meditate a little bit, get in that clean, peaceful state of mind, lower my stress, live with tons of gratitude and fulfillment, increase my associations, update my inner circle of mentors and my associations. I've got goals for better. I'm going to issue stock here probably in the next 30 days for that company. My whole dream is to give ownership, real ownership to people. I want to have 250,000 referral agents this year. I want to have 2 million unique visitors on a regular basis on the site. Want to take it international. And I want to pay $100 million out to the field in income. My financial services business, 12 mil income, help stretch the vision, let people see a bigger vision in themselves. I want to focus mainly on leading the top leaders. No offense to anyone that's a little smaller or yet to be achieved, but the stuff that I want to teach on, someone's going to need to be accomplished already. So I'm going to try to lead leaders and then have them turn around and lead the masses. I want to focus on trips and conventions to where we can get in a great place, quiet place, and change people's lives. I want to consult with some of the companies I have ownership in. I want to launch Swag, Super Wealth Acceleration Group. And I got a friend, Hopper, who's going to help me with a new book. Contribution in faith, all for one. I need to update the board, fundraise $1 million, create an endowment fund, and partner with donor advised funds. Rotary Club, 3 to 4 trips. I want to donate 10 to 20 grand on a regular basis to them, attend 6 outside charity events other than my own and make a great contribution there, and attend church twice a month in person live. Income goals, look, I don't want to get too much into it, but I got big goals. My financial services business, my other businesses, real estate, everything I do is 7 figures now. I'm at that stage. I used to scrape along trying to make 50 grand, 100 grand. I'm not there anymore. I graduated. I got to have bigger vision and bigger goals. I want to save 12 million bucks after taxes and put that into investments. Real estate, I got a lot of goals, and net worth increase. So this is it. And then I break the year down into where I need to be. That's January 31st. I jumped ahead. Sorry. We jumped a little bit. March 31st, June 30th. They're a little out of order here, but this is where I got to be June 30th to be on track to hit my goals for the year. So I look at those goals for the year and I freak out. Just, this is me warning you. If you dream big dreams, it might be so big it scares you. But when you backwards engineer it and you break it down, these are about 40%. I'm not the vertical 30-70 person. I'm more the 60-40. I'm a steady Eddie. I'm a grinder. I'm consistent. One of my strengths is consistency. So these are about 40%. I need to accomplish about 40% of my goals first half of the year, build momentum so I can get 60% the second half of the year. But where do I have to be March 31st to be on track to hit those goals by June 30th? If I miss these goals, I'm going to miss June 30th. If I miss June 30th, I'm going to play catch up trying to get the end of the year goals hit. And where do I have to be? January 31st. So this is what I got to really focus on. New Year's is around the corner. Man, it's Monday. If I start out Monday hung over, I ate bad, I drank too much alcohol, I partied too hard, guess what? Man, accomplishing what I want to accomplish in January is going to be harder. So I got to really decide, do I want to be low key for New Year's Eve or do I want to be an animal? You know? And by the way, this is not a judgment. I just got to figure out for me what I need. We got a lot of stuff to do. I got people to hire, things to do, events. There's a Wealth Bowl in Florida I got to go to here in a week I'm excited about. And then other big events coming up this year. I got to do a lot of stuff in a lot of businesses, certain amount of income and investments. You know, see how easy it is? If I'm going to invest 12 million this year, I only need to invest 200,000 of it in January. So all of a sudden, when you break it down to a bite size, it's not that big of a bite. Now, granted, for some of you, that's still a giant bite. but do you understand what a percentage it is of what the big dream is? When you break it down and break it down and break it out, you might have a goal this year of making 100,000 for the first time. But do you know what you need to make in January to be on track? Maybe an extra $2,000. You might make an extra $2,000 in whatever your endeavor is. And that puts you on track to make 3 the next month, 5 the next month, 7 the next month. And by the end of the year, you hit your $100,000. But it's all about the compounding of your efforts. All right, here we go, everyone. I'm going to turn the corner here. We're in the final lap of this. What's the value of time? You saw at the bottom of all of my sheets, there was time. There was a certain number of hours, and that has to do, you've probably read Think and Grow Rich on page 36, the famous quote, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for your desires. So you write all these goals down, right? You put them all down, you're excited, man, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be influential, I'm going to be a great philanthropist, boy, I'm going to be a great family woman or a family man, I'm going to leave a legacy. You're all ready, you're all fired up. Now, what do you have to give in exchange for that? There is no such reality as something for nothing. What are you going to give? Well, you're going to give something very precious. That's what you're going to give. You're going to give your time. That's what you're going to give, your time. And when you're in your 20s, I watch my kids, they're playing Fortnite for hours in their bedroom. No big deal, just wasting some time, having a little bit of fun. When you got a lot of time, you have a tendency not to respect it as much as the person who's terminally ill in the hospital and they got 30 days left to live. You look at someone like that and boy, every minute, every day, every conversation is so critical. Well, why do you have to be terminal to start respecting time? Why do you have to have so little of it left before you appreciate it? If you could get the appreciation for it earlier in life, like now, imagine how much it can do for you the rest of your life. So how much time do you waste? Let's talk about this. This is fun. If time equals life, if you waste time, you're wasting life. Do you understand that? Like, so someone says, I'm just blowing some time. No, you're blowing your life. Time is so crucial, everybody. If you sleep 1 less hour a day, let's just say you're an 8-hour-a-day sleeper and you sleep 1 less. Forget about the health issues. We're not going to go into that right now. But if you slept 1 hour less a day, you get an extra 365 hours a year by sleeping 1 less hour. You could pick up 365 hours. Well, if you sleep 8 and you're awake 16, so one of your awake days is 16 hours, you actually pick up 22 days a year by sleeping 1 hour less. 22 days to accomplish more of those dreams and goals. Imagine this. That means you pick up an extra year every 16 years. And if you're going to live to 100, you pick up about an extra 6 years. We just found 6 more years for you to accomplish your dreams and goals. And it is all in the math. It's in the wasting less time. That's what it really comes down to. If you want to realize the value of a year, man, ask a student who failed a grade how important 1 year is. Now, all of a sudden, you're the big kid in class. You're the old kid in class, whatever the case might be. 1 year is pretty crucial when you're with your classmates growing in school. Realize the value of a month. Ask a mother who gave birth to a premature baby how much 1 more month in the oven would have meant. You know, it makes a big difference when you're talking about brain development and you're talking about a baby in the womb. Realize the value of a week. Ask an editor of a weekly magazine or newspaper. Their whole entire career is from week to week. Realize the value of an hour. Ask those lovers who are waiting to see each other. That hour goes by so slow. To realize the value of a minute, ask someone who just missed the train. Man, they were running up to the platform and it pulled out. 1 minute. To realize the value of a second, ask a person who just avoided an accident how important 1 second is. And to realize the value of a millisecond, ask the person who won a silver medal in the Olympics instead of the gold. You see all those races that they do that come down to the 1,000th of a second? You can't believe it, that the measuring is so tight. But that's what it comes down to. That's the value of time. But I will tell you, your value of your time is all that matters. How much do you value you? How much do you value your time? In what you're doing right now, does it express how much you value your own self and your own time? Or does it not? These are the questions that you got to ask yourself. So when I set my goals out, and I was young and single. I started writing my goals. I was not married, no kids. It didn't matter how much I worked. I realized that if you sleep 7 hours a night, you have 119 awake hours. And guess what? For my first few years in business, I saw it as an opportunity to get wealthy. I saw it as an opportunity to change my life forever. I saw it as an opportunity to fund all my accounts that were going to plug into the Rule 72 and compound the rest of my life, take care of me the whole rest of my life. I bought the dream. I was sold the dream and I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. And so I put in all the hours. People always ask me, Jeff, when you started, how many hours did you put in a week? All of them. If I was awake, I was working because it was my chance. Now, guess what? If I started anything right now, I couldn't do that. I've got kids, a spouse. I got a lot going on. I've got obligations that go beyond it. But I didn't want to do it forever. I had a plan. I said, I'm going to work real hard right now and get underpaid so that later I could work real little and get extremely overpaid. And you know what? 1995, I had a full-time job working 40, 50 hours a week, and I had a full-time business. Every night I got off of work, I went and worked in my financial services business, and all weekend long, every weekend I worked on it. How many hours a week was I working? All of them. How much did I make that year? 40 grand extra from my business. I traded every weekend and every evening in 1995 for an extra 40 grand. I wouldn't do that now. I won't even do a real estate deal anymore if it's not $1 million. But do you understand that's where I came from? I had a dream and a goal that when I got older, like about now, I wouldn't work over 40 hours a week. And guess what? I'm down to about 40 hours a week for an 8-figure income. Now I'm extremely overpaid. I was extremely underpaid, but for a purpose, because someday I was going to be extremely overpaid. And when I get up into the hundreds of millions and maybe billions, I'm going to be even more extremely overpaid. But I paid the price early with my time being underpaid. Well, I had no family. I had my brother and my parents and a few friends. So guess what? My family and social was back then 1 or 2 hours a day. That was it. That's all I needed. An hour a day, make some calls, call my mom, call my dad, say hi to my brother once in a while, maybe go out and visit a friend or have a friend over and have a conversation, watch a game. That was it, an hour a day. All the rest of it went to work. But I knew someday I'd get married and have kids. So now it's 50 hours a week for family. In the next couple of years, it'll be 70. And at the end, it'll be almost all my hours will be with my family and my loved ones. I consider friends, good friends, family. So my expanded family is going to get all my time later on in life, but I won't be sacrificing the money at that point. Personal development should be consistent. How much are you going to put into your mind and your body? How much are you going to take care of your one machine that you've been given that has to carry you the whole rest of your life? Contribution, faith, philanthropy. Let me be honest. At 24, I was selfish. I wasn't thinking about saving children. I wasn't thinking about saving the planet and the world and giving. I was broke. What could I give? I thought, man, I still got to get. Well, guess what? When I started making money, it was in my plans to start giving. And you know what? It's been one of the greatest blessings in my life is giving. So all these things, those categories, you got to plan out even now, not how much you're going to get, but how much you're going to give and how that's going to shift over time and why it's going to shift over time. You could squeeze a lot more in your day, everybody. Have you ever been on a vacation? Some of you are on vacation now. Some of you are out of town. Some of you are going out of town. Some of you are coming back in town. Have you ever did a checklist before you went shopping or before you went out of town? It's rare if you make a written checklist that you're going to forget anything because you have a checklist and you bring a little pen with you. Some of you do it digitally now, but if you go to Costco or Walmart or one of the grocery stores to go get stuff, It's rare. If they've got it, you check it off the list. You don't miss a thing. If you've got to knock out certain things before you leave town the next day, you got to get your dog handed off to somebody. You got to make sure that you stop by the bank and get some cash for your vacation. You check the tires and the oil on the car. All these pre-vacation checklists, everyone's done one before. And you knock it all out. Usually people are so proud of themselves. Well, I am. When I get home from shopping and I made a list and it's all checked off, I want to put it on the refrigerator, give myself a star and put a magnet there and put it on the fridge. A lot of people are that way before they go on a trip. They get so much done and they look back and they say, man, I got more done in this pre-vacation, the day before my vacation. I got more done today than I normally do in a week. Have you ever had that happen? Raise your hand if you've gotten more done in a day because you had it well planned. You didn't waste any time. You crushed it because you knew you had to crush it. You were leaving town the next day and you couldn't leave town until all of those things were done. Well, if you lived every day like that, imagine for a minute. Is it possible that you could do more in a week if you did that every day for a week? That you could do more in a week than you normally do in a month? And then if you kept going, you're like, man, this is hard, but I'm going to keep making these lists and checking them off. I'm going to do it for a month. Is it possible you could do more in 1 month than a quarter and more in a quarter than a year? And what if you got disciplined? What if you said, you know what? I like this list making thing. I'm going to become a list maker. I'm wasting no more time. I'm never going to bed without a list for the next day. And you make a list for the next day every day for a year. Is it possible to do more in a year than you would in 5? And maybe more in 5 years than most people would in their whole career? Well, you're looking at living proof of that. I was just crazy enough to make a list every single day for about 5 years, from 1995 to the first time I retired in 2000. And at that point, I had a 7-figure income, probably 30, 40, 50,000 a month was residual for the rest of my life. So I got a life's worth of income earned, made, put together from being disciplined for a very small period of time. That's how important I think it is to make a list, everybody. So many people go to bed, wake up, and they don't know what they're going to do that day. And you know what? It shows up eventually in what you don't accomplish, where you don't end up, how your life isn't what you thought it would be. That's why it's so important to have hours of operation for your businesses, hours of operation for your life. You got to run your business like a business and run your life like a business. And you got to plan it out. The more you plan it, the more you'll accomplish and get done. So if your eulogy is what you want said about you at the end of your life, your personal mission statement is who you want to be on a daily basis. It's not who you are, it's who you aspire to be, what you aspire to be like. Who are you being at any given moment? The question is, are you proud of who you are right now? Are you proud of how you're being? Have you ever gotten an argument, a fight with a loved one? You said things and you regretted it. You're like, geez, I shouldn't have said that. Why was I so mad? Or why was I so angry? Or you're just ashamed of what you did or what you said or who you were. Have you ever done that? I think we all have plenty of time. Well, do you have a base point? Do you have the framework of who you want to be to other people all the time that you can work towards? And so you need to come up with a personal mission statement so that even if you're not achieving great goals, even if you're not out there crushing it and accomplishing great things, maybe at least you're being the person you want to be and you're happy with yourself about who you're being. Here's my personal mission statement, and I'll share it with you today. In the land of darkness, I am a light for others to follow. Through considerate reason, empathetic passion, unconditional love, and being a successful example, I create possibility and unleash hope, courage, and faith in all those I interact with. So if you're with me or you've been around me, and me, my life, what I do, who I am, inspires you, and I'm considerate of what you're going through, where you are, where you want to be, well, I'm kind of being the guy I want to be. If you look down at the bottom, I have be, do, have. Everyone has it reversed. Well, once I have this promotion, then I'm going to work like a CEO, and then I'm going to, I'm going to actually be that, whatever it is. And it's actually the opposite. It's who you have to be first. And have you decided who you want to be in this life? In this life, I want to be authentic, passionate, kind, fun, loving, relatable. I want to be visionary, generous, and courageous. That's how I want to be. Am I always that guy? No. Some of you know me. You're like, Jeff, man, you weren't that fun the other day. You were angry and frustrated. I know. But I got to read this on a daily basis and go, you know what? I don't like when I'm that way. I need to work harder on it tomorrow and try to be more fun and just have more fun. I need to be more loving. I need to be more generous. Whatever it is, I know who I want to be. And my goal is to be that person as often as possible. I will have arrived if I could be that person 24/7 all the time. I'm not there yet, but do you even know who you want to be? Or are you still having an identity crisis trying to figure out who you're trying to be? All right. Round in the corner, everybody. You still with me? Last few minutes. You need to build a vision board. You know what I'm talking about. You got things you want. You got things in your mind. Sometimes it's stuff. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's vacations. Sometimes it's fitness. You want to look a certain way. Look, these vision boards, you got to get it in your head first. If it's going to happen in the real world, it's going to start in your head. So you've got to get a clear vision of how you want it to look before it ever looks that way. I'm going to wrap up with this: fulfillment. We talked about accomplishment all day today. Goals, having goals, being accomplished, achieving what you want to in life. The secret to life: whoever spends the most time in their life in a state of joy and fulfillment wins. If you want to win the game of life, it's not who has the most money at the end. It's not who's the most powerful at the end. It's the one who spends the most moments, the most breaths of their life in a state of joy and fulfillment. If you could win the happy game, if you could win the fulfillment game, you win life. The money, the fame, the fortune is a way of keeping score. But if you sacrifice fulfillment and joy for it, you've actually lost. You may have won in some ways, but you may have won a battle, but you lost the war. Best things ever said on fulfillment: focus on your true purpose of life and stop focusing on other people's flaws, mistakes, failures. The fulfillment of your positive purpose on earth truly needs your undivided attention. Any amount of time you're spending on someone else, unless it's your kids, I understand. But a lot of people are spending all their time. Social media is the biggest cause of this, where you're spending so much of your precious life comparing yourself to everybody else. And I would tell you, you need to focus on your purpose in your one God-given life. That was from Edmund Bayek. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Tony Robbins. He shifted from achievement, the art of achievement, to fulfillment, or the science of achievement to the art of fulfillment. Doing what you like is freedom. Liking what you do is happiness. Listen to that again. Doing what you like is freedom. Liking what you do is happiness. True fulfillment comes from helping others. I found that out early. Thank God, in my late 20s, I started to realize how much joy and fulfillment I personally got from giving and helping other people than from getting. True success, true happiness lies in freedom and fulfillment. Happiness is a state of inner fulfillment. This is the fulfillment conversation, everybody. It's not in the pursuit of happiness we find fulfillment. It's in the happiness of pursuit. I love that one. So listen, it's not in the pursuit of happiness. It's in the happiness of pursuit. You should be excited when you get up if you have the right goals. If you're passionately going after something that you want and something you want to do, be, and have, man, just the journey is the destination. The journey should be fulfilling as the accomplishment. You'll never grow to your fullest potential and you plant seeds of love, fulfillment, hope, and success. Nature can only return to you what you plant. So make sure you plant those seeds. Keep in mind that you'll have true happiness, true fulfillment, not living to get, but living to give. Joel Osteen. Life's what you make of it. Find your own path to fulfillment. Happiness is not a goal, it's the byproduct of a life well lived. Eleanor Roosevelt. To have an extraordinary quality of life, you need 2 skills. Tony Robbins, Science of Achievement, Art of Fulfillment. Last but not least, some of you are overwhelmed right now. Don't be shy. Raise your hand if you're overwhelmed. All this stuff, planning, writing your eulogy, planning out 10 years from now. You're horrible at making lists. It just seems like too much. Guess what? You're in good company. Half the people out there feel the same way. They're like, wow, that was incredible. I could never do it, but you could do this. And if I leave you with one thing today, it's this. I call it the fruitful 4. Before you go to bed, every single night, if you could at least do this, you could do this tonight. This is way easier than writing your eulogy, I promise you. Write down 4 things every night before you go to bed that must get done the next day. 4. Not 40, not 40 years from now, not 4 years from now. You sit there and you literally write down 4 things that you got to do tomorrow. I have to call Joe. I've got to get the plumber out. I've got to finish up this one thing that I'm working on, and I need to plan this call. 4 things. Whatever they are, you write them down every night before you go to bed and wake up and start on those 4. Don't do anything else. Don't go into social media. Don't start answering text messages, emails, voice messages. Do those 4 things before you do anything else in the day, and you'll see yourself starting to accomplish at a way higher level than you ever have before. And maybe you start there. Maybe you start with the fruitful 4, and then you grow that into setting your goals for a year, then leaping out to long-term goals, and then maybe writing your eulogy. There's no exact way of doing this, but you got to do something. You got to start taking some action and way more responsibility for your life and where you are and where you're going to end up. I'm going to end with this quote. You know, we're all given the gift, and it is a gift, of a short, finite, precious life on this earth. Don't you think we ought to live that life on purpose? I think we can. I think we should. I think we will. I believe all of you are going to have a great 2024. I hope these 2 hours and 3 minutes today, sorry, I stole 3 minutes from you, but I hope these 2 hours were worth it today for all of you. I hope that you're ready to have a great year next year and the best year ever. I think if you just are focused and you just start putting a lot more attention on what you want instead of what you don't want, you're going to start achieving a lot more. And it's every aspect of your life, from your friendships and relationships to your family, to your health, to your finances and business. But I wish all of you a tremendous 2024, best year ever. And, you know, how you end one thing is how you start the next. So try to get some of these goals done before Monday, before the first of this next year, so you could start the year on your toes instead of your heels. All of you that had guests, thank you for inviting people. And everybody here, we're going to send you an email that has the forms and the formats. If you want to download them and use them for your goal setting, we'll make those available to you. Thank you all. God bless all of you. Happy New Year. And we'll see all of you fulfilled in your life and achieving your goals and dreams.